And we'll try it with the screen down. Hey! You Jesus bastards! I don't know if you can see that, guys, but that oil there doesn't look very good. Ease up, YouTubers and lovers of budget cars and bikes, and not so budget bikes as it would seem with this. Welcome to the latest bike to the collection, something that if you've been watching the channel for a little while now, you'll know that I've been looking to get one of these for probably 2 or 3 years, truth be told, and for whatever reason the deals always fell through. They weren't quite cheap enough for me to be able to warrant spending that kind of money. It was the wrong time of year, whatever, but it never actually came to fruition when it came to putting a deal together for one of these, as I said, for one reason or another. And then finally I got chatting to a really nice guy called Scott from Aylesbury, I think it was, who had this for sale on Auto Trader, and it looked very nice. It's got everything I wanted, and we put a deal together. This is basically a very first initial kind of thoughts, as it were, on the bike. I've not ridden it. All I've done is I've literally backed it into there, and I've taken it back out here in first gear, and I've not ridden the bike yet. You're going to come with me on the first ride, because I know you love to do that, and I like to take you with me, and we'll get a real kind of feel for the bike. As I said, the first impressions, because I don't know anything about riding this bike yet. Because I've not been on it, but today is a reasonably decent day, so we're going to take the big girl out and we're going to talk a little bit about it as we ride it, and obviously then I'll do a kind of review video, a proper review video of the bike and all its features and all the rest of it, and then we'll do a long-term review probably, because I do fully intend on keeping this bike. If something comes along that is too good to miss up, then possibly I would part exit, but I very much doubt it. This really does have everything that I need and want and I've been looking for in a bike. It's Italian, it's a big 1200, it's a V-twin obviously, it's got cornering ABS, cornering lights, LED obviously. It's the S model, it comes with full luggage, it's got cruise control, it's got heated grips, LED indicator, I mean it's just got everything. Full service history, we are going to talk about that. I do need to do a belt change on it, just by time, because it's only done 16,000 miles, but it is a 2015, so it's about a year overdue for the belts, time-wise. That's booked in at GT Motorcycles for next Wednesday. We're on Tuesday now, so in about a week's time. I'm going to take you down there as well. We'll have a little look around GT Motorcycles if you're interested in that, see what they've got in stock, and if they'll let me, we'll film them kind of taking the bike in and doing the belt change, and we'll talk about prices and all that kind of good stuff. So in a minute I'm going to jump on this big girl and we're going to take it out, as I said, for the first ever ride. I might stop somewhere halfway and just give you a quick thoughts on how I'm getting on with it and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, there'll be probably 2 or 3 videos in this series, because I do plan on keeping this bike for a little while. I mean, it is just stunning. We'll have a little quick walk around it because it'd be rude not to. It is filthy dirty, because it's been sat in my garden for a week waiting for the weather. Now, as I said, we are looking at this together, so it looks like there's a bit of grub there. It needs a bit clean, obviously. There's a couple of tiny little stone chips here and there, as you would expect with a 6-year-old bike, I guess, that's probably been on the motorway quite a bit. That is what they're designed to do after all. But look at that huge big 1200 DVT engine. Absolutely stunning. Looks like it's got a very good chain. I mean, as I said, we're looking around this at the same time. You're seeing this as I'm seeing it, really, in that respect. I'm not going to hide the reg. I don't see why people do that, quite frankly. Oddly enough, it's got some rust on this little hanger here. Nothing that I can't fix up. It looks like I could probably just whip that off and spray it, put it back on again. But generally speaking, it needs a bit of a tidy up. I did notice there were some scuffs just where the panniers fit in. But that's not to be unexpected, really, I guess. As I said, it does have colour matched panniers, which are incredibly good nick. We'll put those on when we do another video. There's no point doing that now. It's got a little GoPro mount there, but I don't have the angle brackets to actually put my GoPro on there, so I've stuck it to my helmet as usual. Needs a good clean, but there's no point in doing that because the weather's not brilliant, but good enough. So what we're going to do is jump on, as I said, and we'll have a little chat, and we'll see how we get on with this big gun. So here we go, the first ever ride on a Multistrada 1200 DVT, and it's the S version, as I said in the intro to this video. You'll see there hopefully as well. I'm hoping you guys can see me. You might be able to spot the date service in red down there. I don't know what the other bit denotes there, I think that's actually a symbol for a belt. And as I said, it does need a belt change, which we are going to do next week in about 7-8 days time. So I'm hoping to take you guys along with me for that little trip down to Plymouth, which is about 15 miles from here, and we'll pop into GT Motorcycles and have a little look around there as well. Don't judge me, this is my sat nav kind of set up for now. As you can see, I put a little bit of tape around there to protect the bars. This is an old Garmin setup, and basically my old Garmin fits in there. It'll fit via this little DIN here with an adapter to power it up, because my Garmin is so old it actually doesn't hold a battery anymore. The battery's gone basically. What else? That's probably it for now. Everything needs a bloody good clean, but let's go. Let's have a little play with this big old Ducati. Standard exhaust, and we will drive straight into a white van. Look at that. Well, not straight into one, but I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? This is the coldest like. No one ever comes down here until I come. Anyway, so second gear. First time I've been in second gear. This is all so exciting. I love taking you guys with me. I have heard that the brakes on these are sublime. I've not seen any evidence of that yet, as you can see by going around that corner. I'm hoping this is all going to come out all right. I mean, it's not going to be a big chore, is it, really, for me to have to go out on this bike twice now, is it? So, if I waffle, please excuse me, because I am a little bit nervous, if I'm honest, because I've not been out on this before. It is 160 horsepower as well, with I think it's 105 or 103 newton meters of torque. Now, I really enjoyed riding my Monster. If you've seen the video for that, if you haven't, I'll stick it in the top right now, the top right side of the screen, that is. If you haven't seen that video, go and have a look at that. You'll see me ranting and raving about how wonderful that bike was and is, and it's been one of my favourite. And my microphone has just popped off the screen, so it's kind of dangling to my left at the moment, but we're not going to worry about that too much. Yeah, I really like that bike, and essentially this is the same engine, although I think that was the MTS engine and this is the DVT. I'm not sure exactly what's I might have to stop in a minute, guys, and redo this microphone, because it's literally flapping about all over the place. Maybe that'll do it. Let's find out. You can't see it, of course, because you're under my chin. Anyway, I'm waffling. Yeah, I really like that bike. Hated having to sell it, but I basically made a fair profit on that. I kind of part X'd it, or the guy with the FZ1, the Yamaha, the yellow bee, bumblebee as it were, he part X'd that with me, and it was such a good deal I couldn't pass it up, so I let that go, and I've been looking at a Ducati Monster ever since, thinking if one came up cheap enough I might pull the trigger again, you know. But then I really wanted the Multistrada, because if I don't go touring soon, I don't think I'm ever going to, because I do get aches and pains because I'm an old bugger now, and I think it's going to be literally, time is catching up with me, and it's going to be a case of I'm going to be too old to really enjoy touring, and there's no point in being on a motorcycle if you don't enjoy it, I'm sure you'll agree. So the Multistrada was going to be the better option for me. So I got one. We'll talk about prices and that kind of stuff, and values in that respect, on another video. Bloody traffic. Call more traffic in September, don't you love it? Right, so let's turn that indicator off. It doesn't have self-cancelling indicators, which is a bit of a surprise and a bit of a disappointment, I have to say. But it does have keyless ignition. Oh, right, okay, well, that was interesting. I went to turn the indicator off, and because I pushed it with my big old thumb, it actually turned the right side indicator on, which is interesting. Anyway, as I said, it's got keyless ignition, which is my first ever keyless ignition bike. LED lights, as you might be able to see in the back of that car there. We're going to go up here, I think. And it's got LED headlights, as I said, back and front end indicators as well, I think. All underneath here, I don't know if you can see that, but underneath here is all sorts of gump. If you lose your keys, which you'd be bloody stupid to lose your keys because you get 3 of them, but if you did lose it or break one or whatever, there's a little system underneath here, I believe. You press a couple of buttons and you can start the bike with a dedicated PIN number, which is kind of cool, I guess. The only thing about the keyless ignition that worries me slightly, I have to say, is if I suddenly now decided to, as an example, there's a shop just over there. If I pulled up outside that shop just over there and jumped off the bike, went and got myself a bottle of water, oh right, okay, then just let everybody pull out in front of me. Yeah, if I went in there and I've got the key in my pocket, being that it's keyless ignition, in theory somebody could just jump on my bike because I'm not that far away and just ride off on it. So I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. but it's gimmicky, I guess, in that respect. Well, we still haven't been out of third gear yet. You can see the dash there. It's looking a bit grubby. I've just put an easy grip dash protector screen thingy on there, as you might be able to see. It hasn't dried off yet. There's a couple of bubbles because there was a couple of tiny scratches on the screen, which actually come from washing the bike, bizarrely enough. If you remember, again, going back to the Monster, I had some real issues with the screen on that. Not as bad as, I mean, this isn't as bad as that was, obviously. Let's get down here. And, let's see if I can pull this down slightly. Yeah, I had some issues with that screen, if you remember rightly. And I tried to fix it and completely cocked it up, and I ended up having to tint a screen protector and then put that on there, and it did cover it up a little bit. But this, I think most of the scratches, you can't really see them now. It just needs to dry out, this screen protector, and then it will look a lot better. As I say, this is a bit of a jamboree of a video. I do apologise. It's my first ride out on this bike, so I'm taking things very, very easily, learning as I go, and you guys are coming with me. I'm hoping it's of some interest to you. We're going to do another couple of videos, as I said, and I'm hoping you can hear this because I've turned the volume down a bit now. I'm hoping there's not too much wind as well. Let's see what we can do about getting up this hill with a bit of speed. Does she? Yeah, just like I remember the Ducati Monster. I'm really sorry if this wind's kicking in, guys. I had to put the microphone on the front visor as opposed to the tinted visor. It's fallen down, so I'm going to pull over in a minute and give you another little walk around the bike. So we'll try to address that issue, or I might even try and pull over here and clip it back where it should be. So just bear with me. I might just chop this little bit out anyway. Neutral is sublimely easy to find, as you can see. Bear with me a second, guys. I'm literally just gonna try and get this microphone and pop it back where it normally sits, which is about there. And then I can pull this screen down and hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. Let me just up that a little bit. Alright, let's see if that's any better. It's probably perfectly fine and I just did all that for nothing. Anyway, I digress. So, bloody hell. Yeah, that's quite impressive, I have to say. That does not hang about. That's yeah, I mean, my Ducati Monster was 135 horsepower, I think. This is 160 with, as I said, about 105 newton meters of torque. And yes, it is damn quick, surprisingly. I mean, I've ridden a lot of fast bikes, a lot of bikes generally. This is fucking quick, excuse my language, but that was almost scary, how quick that was between second and fourth. I can see me having a lot of fun with this bike, and it's just sitting there, fifth gear, 50 miles an hour, 3,000 revs, and I reckon it will probably do that all day long. So we've discussed what the features are of the bike. What do I think of it so far? Wow is the only word that comes to mind, just wow. That power is sublime. And it's the kind of power that I love, that real low down torquey V-twin power. Yes, the FZ1 and bikes like that, if you get them up to 6, 7, 8,000 revs, they're going to be equivalently kind of exciting, but this does it with no kind of stress at all. You know, you just literally pull back and hang on, and trust me, I had to hang on there. That was that was quite interesting, to say the least. Anyway, I'm going to shut up for a minute. We're going to poodle on up here and see if we can head up to Callington and then maybe jump on a bit of motorway. So, as I was saying, first impressions, wow, what a bike, what an amazing bit of machinery. It's actually everything that I wanted, everything that I've expected. So far, so good. The only thing that I would say that I would like to see is a quick shifter. That would be kind of cool. Let me just see if I can get out of here without killing myself. Whoa. Now, this bike is incredibly light. The one thing I noticed now, compared to the Honda Super Blackbird that I did a whole series of videos on. If you look back at my catalogue, you'll see those as well, the bike that we did up. I'm hoping you've seen that's quite an interesting project. That was a really heavy bike, but I'm assuming that was probably most likely to do with the fact that the weight was low down, low centre of gravity in that respect. So it was really bloody difficult to move about. The first thing I noticed when it arrived was how easy it was to move about, just to get it into the property that I live in. And steering wise, I mean, it's really, really easy. I went to sit on one of these, but the older version with the crappy dash, the MTS I think it is, 1200. I went to see one local to me probably 2 years ago now, and I sat on it and it felt very much forward, like, you know, like you're sitting over the bike, like a Z1000 or a Z750, that kind of thing. And it kind of put me off, and I was worried, I have to say, that this was going to be the same kind of scenario, but it really isn't. I think they might have changed things so you sat back. I did think that I might need some, not bar risers per se, but like the ones I got for the GS 1200 BMW, that they kind of come up and then back slightly. And it might still be an option. It depends on how I feel after I've done a longer journey, because obviously I need to get on the motorway with this, go out for a couple of hours. I might even do what I did on the GS and go down to Exmouth, visit Nan's grave, that kind of stuff, because it's about 70 miles there, 70 miles back, so it gives you a good idea of, you know, 150 miles in a day, how you're going to cope, that kind of stuff. The seat is very comfortable, really, really comfortable actually. I mean, we've only been out 10 minutes, so again, it's hard to know, so we'll have to do another judgment on that, as it were, after a longer ride. But I honestly don't see any reason why you couldn't ride this for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. Obviously comfort breaks come into the equation then, because you're going to need a pee or a drink or whatever. But again, with the luggage that comes with it, it's bloody useful that you can just stick a sandwich and a can of Red Bull or a bottle of water or whatever you like in the side luggage, and just stop wherever you like and have your own lunch that you've made up for yourself, or just obviously stop at a pub, that kind of stuff. Now this, I'm hoping you can hear the exhaust. That is actually the stock exhaust, believe it or not. We just found a false neutral there, that was interesting. The first false neutral, that was going from 4th to 5th. We never like a false neutral, but I have heard that they do that, and obviously that was the first one of that. Nothing really to be worried about. Anyway, as I was saying, I can't see any reason why you couldn't ride this for a few hours quite easily. I wonder, I mean, I don't know if you saw, you probably did see that little red car there that was looking like it was going to jump out on us. I think having the LED headlights gives you much more on the road presence, as it were. You know, people can see you much better than they would with a normal halogen headlight. So that's going to be interesting to see, because obviously I've been riding close to 40 years, believe it or not, and I've had a lot of people pull out in front of me, so it's going to be interesting to see how having an LED light at the front kind of stops that. I have considered getting some of the little spotlights that you can get, because I think this is the touring version. It's the S, obviously we know that, so it's got the colour dash, and it's got the skyhook suspension, all that kind of stuff, and as I said, heated grips, which are just over here, which is bloody useful. So I've lost my train of thought now. We were talking about headlights, weren't we? Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, and I did consider putting some spotlights on. I don't know, because the thing is, parts for Ducatis, if you own one, you're going to know they're not cheap, you know. Although when we go off to Plymouth to do the cam belt change on this bike, I'll talk to you about what I paid for those belts and how much GT motorcycles in Plymouth are going to charge me to fit them, because all they're going to do is fit them, because I actually did buy the belts myself from Ducati in Glasgow, and they sent those over, so they're brand new Ducati Corsa belts, no problem there. I did think GT might say, look, you know, we didn't supply the belts, so we're not going to fit them, but you know, they can't really say that, can they, if you buy them direct from Ducati. So as I said, it's going to be another video, and we're going to talk about the belt changes and how much you should expect to pay. This is going to need a Desmo service, a proper Desmo service, but as you can see, because it's only done 16,000 miles, the Desmo service is actually due at 18,000 miles. Now the way I ride, that's probably going to be next summer, and it includes all sorts of stuff like checking the brake fluids, changing the plugs, it should change the belts, but obviously we're going to have done that. And you need to do a valve clearance check, which is not easy on a big bike like this, and it's very, very labor intensive, and you don't know obviously if you're going to need to change any shims or anything like that. So again, we might talk about that as and when it's done. I can see me doing a fair few videos on this bike, to be honest, because I can't see any reason why I would want to sell this bike. So far I'm really liking it. It'd have to be something catastrophic like my needing money very quickly, because I did get this for a bloody bargain, truth be told, because it needed, as I said, the £1,200. Yeah, I kid you not, £1,200 for the Desmo service, which is the belt change, the valve clearance. I mean, according to the Ducati spec sheet, you're supposed to actually do a fork oil change, but in my mind I don't see that's really relevant. I mean, unless the oil is leaking, as in you've got fork seals gone, well, why would you change the fork oil? I think it's just another way of Ducati getting money out of you personally. And when I spoke to GT Motorcycles, who are the big independent Ducati dealer down here, they said no, we don't do that as part of the Desmo. So I don't know what to tell you about that. It's an interesting one that the local Ducati specialist says no, we don't change the fork oil, but on the timesheet, the service schedule, it says that they do. But we're going to do the air filter, the oil and oil filter, obviously. We're going to change the plugs and do the valve clearance, and the belts will have been done 4 or 5 months previously, so it's then good to go up until 36,000 miles or 5 years. So I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to keep this for 5 years, of course, but I mean, I need to get into these menus down here and find out how to change the wheelie control, the traction control, because we're in sport now, as you can see, and the traction control is on number 4, but I think you can turn that up to like 5, 6, 7. It's got a, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's got a 6-axis IMU as well, with lean angle sensitive traction control, cornering lights, all that kind of good stuff. And as I said, wheelie control, it's got ABS as well, 3 levels of ABS. What else? My average speed is 22 miles an hour. Can you tell I'm taking it easy? We're going to jump on to the A38 for a minute, and not because I want to go fast, because I want to check out this screen, because it actually has the touring screen on at the moment, as you might be able to tell, but the guy did give me another screen which is slightly smaller, and I want to see at motorway speed what this screen's all about, because it is slightly adjustable as well. So bear with, and let's go for a ride down here. That screen in its upper position there, as you can see, I mean, it's bloody, well, it's kind of in your eye line, it has to be said, but that's a good thing, I guess, if you want to stop the wind, and it does a pretty good job, I have to say. I'm going to try it with it down in a second, so bear with me. We'll go around here and we'll try it with the screen down. Hey! You Jesus bastards! Wow. don't know if you can see that, guys, but that oil there doesn't look very good. I'm hoping that's not what I think it is. I don't know if you saw that, guys, but some woman, as I was going around that little bit there, she decided in her infinite wisdom she was going to turn right out of that turn in there onto the A38, as in go straight across and join that lane over there. She suddenly realised that that was a bad idea. So as I was coming around that little bit there, she starts reversing into me. How on earth she didn't smack into me is just, well, I don't know, if I'm honest. But that was not what we're looking for, is it really? Right, okay. And the reason I jumped off, by the way, is purely and simply because I could hear this weird hissing noise. And I don't know if you can see this down here. We'll have a look again. But these use green oil, the really expensive green oil. But that, there, I have heard that there is condensation in these sight lines here, these sight glasses, for the oil. But that looks a bit creamy, I have to say. I'm not entirely convinced that's a good thing. So, I've looked underneath the plug and there's no evidence of any kind of head gasket issue. I'd be bloody surprised if it's got a head gasket issue, considering the bike's only done 16,000 miles. To turn it on, by the way, you just press that little button there and the dash comes to life beautifully. Now, is it again 73? So it's not overheating. So I think it's just, as I said, that oddness with the oil sight glass. If you know anything about that, let me know, because obviously that's a little bit freaky, but not as freaky as that old bird there who just tried to fucking kill me. Anyway, I digress. We're going to slip back into Liskeard now. Move that microphone across. I hope that nobody else tries to kill us on the way home. God, it just goes to show that you've got to be so on your game when it comes to motorcycling, haven't you? I mean, obviously I'm going to chop and change and edit this video a little bit, so you won't see all of that, otherwise you're going to get really bloody bored of my waffling. Checkered Flag, great place to be as well. If you ever want any work done on your bike, have a chat with a guy in there called Robin, a really, really nice guy, and a good place to just stop and have a cup of tea and a sandwich and chat to other bikers, because they do get a lot of bikers in there. And it's a nice place to go at the weekend, and they've got bikes for sale and, well, as I said, a little workshop. So if you're in the area, stop in the Checkered Flag on the A38 and have a quick chat with them. You'll meet lots of like-minded people. Oh God, a first ride out is always so freaky, isn't it? I don't know if you guys would agree. Put it in the comments, as I said. I mean, obviously, that sight glass for the oil has freaked me out a little bit. I have to say, it freaked me out a little bit when I first saw green bloody oil in there, because I thought someone put in antifreeze or something like that into the oil by accident. But you know, this has got a full Ducati service history, so I'd be pretty surprised if that was the case, and I'd be asking questions of Ducati where it was done last time. But I'm pretty sure we're alright. 68 degrees is the current temperature. There's no smoke billowing out of the bike or anything like that. But that sight glass does freak me out a little bit. And then, as I said, you know, you got that bloody old lady there who decided in her infinite wisdom she was going to join the A38, but by going straight on as opposed to up and then round again. God, there's an odd smell around here. I hope it's not this bloody bike. I love the way you get that overrun burble as well, even with a stock exhaust on a Ducati. It's just, it's part of the fun of owning a Ducati, I think, really, you know, is the sound of it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I like to be seen on a motorcycle, not just because of the safety aspects. Obviously that's a huge thing, you need to be seen, but I like people to look at the bike and go, oh wow, what's that? Or hear it coming and go, oh wow, what's that? But without being super obnoxious, because I mean, some people have got bikes, I mean, I've done it myself, I put on stupid exhausts, and you know, I look back at that now and think, Jesus Christ, what was I thinking? But in an area like this, just to do that, just a little blip, oh, they're pretty. And then people kind of look and go, oh, what's that? Because people do respect and admire Ducatis. I don't care what anybody says. Italian bikes, Italian cars, people do respect them. I'm convinced of that. I do, if I see one. Now, after, what has it been, 24 miles, 13 miles, average speed of 24 miles an hour. I'm not quite sure that's correct, but Yeah, I always look at a Ducati when it's coming down the road, you know, just because it's something a little bit different. Oops, a daisy. Ah, the first stall. Lovely. Alright, anyway, we're back in Liskeard. I hope you have enjoyed this first ride out with me, guys. It's been a little bit choppy here and there, but first rides, I think you'll agree, always are. You know, let's get out of his bloody way. I hate traffic so much, and I especially hate tourist traffic, which we tend to get quite a lot of in Cornwall. As I said, I'm going to chop and edit bits and bobs out of this video. I might leave that bit in with that bloody woman trying to kill me though. And if you've got any comments or questions, or you know, you want to just chime in anywhere underneath in the comments section, please feel free to do that. If you've got any statements, as it were, as to that oil sight, the oil level sight glass that we was talking about just now, how it looks a little bit creamy. I mean, what I might do is just when I get home, take a quick picture of it, jump onto the Facebook page or the forum and just say, look, is this right? What's going on here? But I can't see it's a problem. I took the oil cap, filler cap off, and there's nothing down there. It's not overheating, there's no smoke. My one concern would have been with that kind of thing we saw was head gasket, but one, I'd be surprised at 16,000 miles, and two, there was no evidence of it, so maybe it's just one of those things. I'm going to do a little bit of research, and we'll touch on that again when I do the next video, which will probably be next Wednesday, as I said, because we're going to take it down to GT Motorcycles and get the belts done, and we'll talk about prices and what you should expect to pay for that service, when you should do it, that kind of stuff. And we'll also talk about what I paid for the bike, what they're worth, what side of the road's done, and just a little bit more about the bike, because that's about a 15-mile trip down there. I have to say, people did say that the brakes on these were sublime. I'm not getting that, I have to say. My Triumph Speed Triple brakes were a hell of a lot better than these. It's entirely possible they need bleeding, I guess. I'm not sure if that's part of the Desmo service, but I've not noticed anything spectacular with the brakes, I have to say. I just thought I'd kind of slip that into the last part of this before we pull up beside my house. Anyway, as I said, I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't subscribed, then consider doing that, because it's always nice to see new subscribers. Give it a like if you would, because that always really helps the algorithms on YouTube. And look out for another video on this subject in probably about 2 weeks for you. It'll be about a week for me. Oh crikey, they are big girls, these. Let's see if we can do this without stalling. Anyway, take care guys, ride safe, and any comments and any of that kind of stuff, drop it in the comment section below, and consider subscribing and give the video a like. That'd be brilliant. Alright, you take care now, be safe.